Hi, this is Barry Lewis, and welcome to our weekly OK Preps Extra podcast. Usually Patrick Prince is joining me, but this week we have a special guest. It's Mick Wilson, Tulsa Public Schools Athletic Director. And Mick, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me, Barry. Looking forward to visiting with you about where we're at and how we're trying to relax a little bit and enjoy some summertime. Unfortunately, sometimes summer is when we stay the busiest.
I was going to ask you about that, but of course, first of all, it was a very busy time last summer as we're about to reach the 1-year anniversary since you became athletic director after being the assistant athletic director for 9 years before that when you succeeded Gil Cloud around this time last year. Has the year gone by fast?
It really has. You know, we really haven't had time to stop and breathe a little bit. You know, Gil warned me. He said, you know, you're going to move down a chair, you're going to change offices or whatever, but get ready. It's going to be crazy. And it's been a lot of fun, Barry. It's been better than I expected in a lot of ways. And I think Gil did a great job of preparing me. You know, all the years of experience you have in this business, nothing ever really gets you ready for some of these things. You just have to rely on your experience and your wisdom and your knowledge and try to do it a little bit better than the previous person and try not to make some of the mistakes maybe they made, or try to improve some of the mistakes you've made along the way. So there's a lot of learning curve, but it's been great. And our administration have been so supportive and so helpful. And, you know, our athletic directors out in the buildings and our principals have been so easy to work with. So they've made my job really easy. I just try to continue not to mess things up. You know, we've got a pretty good thing. And a lot of people along the way have been very helpful. So we're going to continue to move forward and try to make some changes here and there. But I've had a lot of good people around me. And as Bill Parcells always says, you know, it's not the success of one person. It's surrounding yourself with many. So it's been good, Barry.
Some people come up to me, and just because there aren't any official high school games going on at this time of the year, they'll say, "Oh, how do you feel the summer? Summer must be a really slow time for you." And I tell them, well, it's anything but these days. It used to be that way when I first started in the business 40 years ago, but not anymore. How busy is the summer for you?
Well, you know, right now we're spending so much time with some of the bond projects we've got going on. You know, we spend time getting ready for football season and all our fall sports, because really with the OSSA fall practice date, July 15, you know, we're doing a lot of housekeeping duties, trying to get coaches hired, trying to make sure that the parental consent forms and everything for rank 1 is all done and physicals are on file. So there's not a lot of downtime, especially you take hats off to our athletic directors who are trying to get a little time off, because most of those guys are all certified teachers. So they're trying to at least take some of their contracted time off. So we try to fill in the gap where we can and help in those areas. But, you know, we've got several bond things happening right now, Barry, as we've talked about before. First and foremost, our East Central High School gymnasium will be hopefully ready on September 1st. You know, give or take a week or two, we may be ready, and it's looking like a first-class facility. And then, of course, we've got turf replacement at Hale High School going on right now on the practice field. We'll start that as well at Rogers High School with new turf going down there, as well as, Barry, the exciting time that we're going to put in the visiting side bleachers. And also that side will have restrooms, concession stand, and then we'll also begin shortly thereafter with a practice gym attached to the rack. So those are exciting things. And then even a little further down the road with improvements at Hale High School with an indoor soccer practice facility, as well as an addition there to the gym with locker rooms and additional athletic space. So a lot of that's going on. Been in meetings planning those things. And also, Barry, I don't know if you know, but our tennis courts are going to be ready soon at Booker T, Washington. So we'll continue to push that along with also our renovation of the baseball field there. So we've got some things going on that's kept us busy. So good stuff, real good stuff.
It sounds like it. Mick, there have been some multiple high-profile transfers in high school football recently. And how much, I know the last 2 years, Booker T. Washington, as tradition-rich of a program as there is, they've lost their leading rusher from the previous season to 6A1 teams each of the past 2 seasons. How much are these high profile transfers? How much of it is a concern for TPS? And is there anything you can do about it?
Well,
What's your point of view?
Well, I think, Barry, we tend to lose sight that we're here for education first. And, I don't know whether if you cast blame in any particular direction, whether it's members of the athletic department team, coaches, we have to remember that we're here for education first. And sometimes I think we lose sight of that. We make a move, or people make moves based on what they think is athletically best for them. Maybe sometimes considering that we're here for academics. And you talk about the tradition that Booker T. Washington has in athletics, and it is strong and it is unparalleled. But academically, they're a strong school as well. And we'd like to think that all our schools are that way, that we're trying to provide a quality education. So kids are going to come and kids are going to go, but parents and families have to do what they think is best for their child. At the end of the day, there are certain criteria they're going to have to meet, whether they move or whether they apply for a hardship. The OSSA grants those based on what circumstance the student has been placed in. So I don't think you can try to cast blame, or you can try to say that there's something underhanded going on, even though we know that some of that stuff does go on. But what I will say is, at the end of the day, a parent has to move a child, a guardian, a particular person that is that's the guardian of that particular child, has to help make that move as well. So there's many moving parts to this, Barry, but I will say that you've got to do what's best for you and your family, and try to provide the best education you can for your child, because at the end of the day, the sports are going to be gone someday, and you're going to have something that you can hang your hat on and make a living.
As far as TPS football, since football season is going to be here before we know it, there have been some TPS programs that seem to be on the rise. They're as far as the wins, losses, they're going in the right direction. But then there's some programs that have only had a few wins over the last few years, and some of them have small participation numbers. And of course, you didn't have football, or you guess you still don't have football at Webster. Is there a possibility about combining football programs at some time?
Barry, we've talked about all kinds of things. This conversation started with Gil and I many years ago. The trend in an urban setting, as you know, Barry, this isn't a problem that's just isolated to Tulsa. This is going on in Oklahoma City. It's going on in Memphis. It's going on in Little Rock. It's going on, a lot of regional places similar to us, Denver. Inner city football is really tough right now. And so I think it's going to it's really going to take some thinking outside the box, so to speak, whether it's people have their own leagues, whether it's city leagues, whether you petition. We've got a formula in the OSSA now where teams have to go up based on their success formula. Well, there are some states that have talked about, and I've actually kicked around the idea there maybe should be a formula for petitioning down. If you've not won, you've had a 1 or 2 win season for 3 or 4 straight years, maybe you should be able to petition down a class. I've also talked about, Barry, rather than basing football numbers on ADM, maybe football numbers realistically ought to be based on a certified roster that you submit. And maybe that's where you should be classified, by roster size, because, if you truly go by that and you file an affidavit or you file some kind of form that says that this is our ADM or our roster size, then you could maybe get a little more equitable situation. But right now, I think you need to really look at everything on the table, because you're right. There's some schools that aren't experiencing very much success at all. And then we have the ones that are still trying to hang in there and be successful. And so I think there's some things across the board that need to be looked at. This is not just a problem with Tulsa Public Schools. This is a problem that the OSSA has in trying to put everything on the table and get better. But for someone to stand there and say, hey, you know what, get better. Get better is not a solution. It's really not. I mean, you got to have players, you got to have numbers, health and safety of our kids when you're trying to play teams that are able to put 2 platoon and play kids one way, and you're trying to play your best players 2 ways. That can be tough when you're putting the team out on the field that's maybe competing against a 6A school, but they really don't have a 6A roster, so to speak, Barry. So I think there needs to be some conversations had in the future that aren't going to be easy and probably not going to be comfortable, but they need to be done for the sake of kids, no doubt.
Now, continuing on about football, Mick, now you've had the two really nice new facilities open recently at Rogers and Central. And how do you feel going into the season, how it's going to go overall for the 8 TPS teams? Now you return, I guess, you have 7 of the 8 schools have the same coach as last year. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
So that consistency, how important is that consistency for you? And I know you're also with the one new head coach you've hired, and you can talk to us about him at Rogers. How excited are you about that hiring?
Well, I think Levy's going to bring some great experience. He's going to
Levy
bring
Adcock.
Yes, he's going to bring some great experience. He's been around some really good coaches, whether it's been Coach Blankenship at Owasso, his playing time in Oklahoma State, his playing time in the NFL. He's been around a lot of really good people. I know he's excited about the opportunity. He's excited about some of the kids at Rogers, and I think he's excited about being in the building and being around a lot of good people at Rogers. They've got a really good thing going there, and he's going to really add to that culture and that climate to be able to improve the situation there. So I think that they're low-hanging fruit, so to speak. I think they're going to be able to have some success, and I think Levy's going to work hard at it. I know he's been there almost nearly every day since they've hired him. I mean, the guy is just he's a workhorse, and so we're excited about that opportunity. As for the consistency and everything we have with the other schools, Barry, I think that our coaches, it's a labor of love. It's tough, but you take a guy like Kip Shaw. Those guys really put the hours in, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's not all about the wins and losses. It's about building relationships with our kids. And I will tell you that our kids look up to our football coaches. Those coaches have a lot invested with those kids. They really speak into those kids' lives, and they're there for them at the end of the day. And winning's nice, don't get me wrong, and we love to be successful because we've had our success in other sports and continue to do that. But we're hoping that our football gets a little stronger, but along the way, we also hope these kids pick up something that's going to help them be successful in life.
Shifting gears just a little bit, I remember when you took or when you were promoted to athletic director last summer, I remember you mentioned that since the start of COVID in 2020, that you were walking 7 miles a day.
Yes.
Are you still doing that? And how do you balance work and exercise?
Well, Barry, I'll tell you, I'm actually up to probably about 8 miles a day. And for the total day, I've been going twice, and I get up to 8 or 10 because I usually go a little bit in the evening and take the dog for a walk as well. But no, I still get up every morning, Barry, at 4 a.m. And it's funny you bring that up because, we were at the OIAAA and the Oklahoma Athletic Directors Conference the last couple of days, and Rusty Zumwalt from BSN said, he said, give me a screenshot. He'd asked for a screenshot of all the miles that I'd walked, and he was sharing that with people because I've not missed a day, Barry, since March 23rd of 2020. Rain, shine, snow, sleet, I've walked in all of it. And I think most of the police officers in South Tulsa and Broken Arrow all know me. They just drive by at 4:30 or 4:45 in the morning and give me a wave or check on me. But no, I'm still going. And I think the only way you balance it, Barry, is I make it a priority of mine that I have to do it when I'm not in work hours. So I spend my time from 4 to 6 every morning getting up and getting my walk and my slow jog in when my left knee will let me, and then get ready for work. And I'm in the office by 7:15, 7:30 every day. So it's great. I love balancing it. It makes me feel better. And I just enjoy being able to be here early and be able to help the folks when they need me.
You mentioned about the meetings that you attended the last 2 days. Did anything interesting come out of them that you could share?
Well, I just think that the OSSA is, it really is funny. I used to not always believe early in my career that everything trickled down from certain levels. But I think now the NIL, I think the transfer portal, I think you're seeing some of that. I think maybe some of that is actually true and is coming to fruition. I think the OSSA is trying to get out in front of some of this. And not to speak for David Jackson, but sitting through the meetings and listening to some of the things that are being said, I think that you're going to see some of those things start to happen. And by getting out in front of that, the new open transfer law that's now went into legislation and went into law, that these students are able to move and have a little more freedom on choices and be able to go back to their home school. I think that they're going to try to fit hardship to kind of cater to a little bit to that, because you're going to see more of that. So I think there's going to be some things that address the movement of these student athletes, Barry, especially when in regards to going back to their home district.
What's the speaking about the COVID time, we talked about that's when you start your walking every day. Last year, we're starting to come out of COVID somewhat. It was more like a normal year than the previous year, that's for sure. Was there anything good now that things are getting more towards normality? Was there anything good that you can continue that you start doing during the COVID time that can continue on, and anything good that come out of that time as far as doing things a different way?
Well, I think just overall communication, I think, has been better. I think, when you're not seeing people face to face, and you're not, maybe you're not having the close interaction, that it forces you to communicate better via Zoom, better via email. I think you're a little more detail oriented, and I think you've seen that not only, and in some cases maybe people communicate worse, but I would say in our department, and what we've been able to do with our coaches, is it's forced us to really pin people down and listen and communicate well, because you got to make sure the message is going to get across, Barry, because you're not going to see that person, face to face. So you really have to follow up, cross your I's, dot your T's, and make sure that everyone understands the communication is clear, because it's easy for people to say, well, it got lost in translation. So you want to make sure that our communication's better. I tell you what, our athletic directors, Barry, have done an amazing job out in the buildings of being able to move forward and to show progress during COVID, because as so many people, you've learned it's real easy to shut down during a pandemic and maybe not give your best effort. But we really, across the district, I feel like we have improved, whether it's just our day-to-day effort of dealing with kids, or just our interaction on what's going on out in our buildings. Because to be honest with you, Barry, when you got 9 high schools and you got 10 junior highs, we're usually getting hit from every direction. So it's important for them to keep us up to date on what's going on, so that we can go out and support them, or actually help them go out and solve a problem. And so I will say that kudos to those guys for all that they've done to help us along the way this year.
What's the number one thing that you learned from your predecessor, Gil Cloud?
I think that Gil was the master, and I think he would tell you, Gil sometimes would always say there's a certain pace to a particular problem. Some people would call it slow play. Some people would say get out in front of something. Just the pace of being able to deal with a problem based on the situation. Some problems need to be solved immediately, and some you need to kind of slow play them out and see, gather more feedback, get experience around that problem. So if Gil's listening, I would tell you that he's the master of that. Gil always seemed to have a good pace for solving a problem, or dealing with one immediately, or saying, you know what, maybe let's not deal with it today. Let's sleep on it a few days and see what happens. So probably that, Barry. It was just, he has a unique ability to make things work in the right timing.
Before we let you go, I just want to remind everybody about a few things coming up, and they all will involve TPS student athletes. From July 2nd through 10, we are going to be honoring the best performers in the spring sports. So look for that to be published July 2nd through 10. And then we've got the All World Awards on August 2nd, Tuesday night, August 2nd, 6:30 p.m. at the Renaissance Hotel. Again, their Tulsa Public Schools will be well represented. And we also have our Tulsa World Fall Sports Photo Media Day on August 17th, a Wednesday at Memorial Veterans Arena. So got a lot of things coming up. They'll be here before we know it. And before we let you go, Mick, is there anything else that you'd like to add that we should know about that we haven't covered?
No, Barry, just want to tell you we appreciate the coverage you provide. I appreciate you on many avenues. Thank you for serving on the Hall of Fame committee. We just finished the banquet and the induction ceremony. And Barry, it was another stellar class. Looking forward to our next Hall of Fame meeting here within the next month or so we can start on next year's class. And so I always appreciate your help with that. And also we enjoy hosting the Fall Sports Day at Memorial. It's always great to showcase Veterans Arena and get people on the campus at Memorial High School. That's been great, and just appreciate all that the Tulsa World does to support us. Not only that, but also all your endeavors, even going back with you and Mike, and now Bill covering the tournament champions. We're looking forward to that. Barry, to be honest with you, the BOK Center didn't let me get out the door, the SMG group, before they said, hey, we want to make sure you're coming back next year. I will say last year, Barry, that I think it was probably one of the best tournament champions we've ever held. It was just maybe we've had better teams, maybe we've had better games, but I think just the atmosphere, the aura of being in the BOK Center and Winterfest going on outside, and just so many things going on, the excitement of being around the Christmas season, it was just a great environment. And then, of course, it helped with a small school getting in the championship with the Lincoln Christian girls rolling in there. So I think it seemed like the stars aligned. It was just a lot of fun. And I think it provided for not only the basketball fans, for sporting fans, just to come out and be in that environment. And we appreciate all that you guys have done to help lift that up as well. So just looking forward to another great year, and that'll be part of it, Barry. So you're always welcome. I reminded Lisa today to make sure she's got my tickets reserved so I can get out to your awards ceremony. So we'll be a part of that. But anything you need from us, Barry, anytime, we're always here. So just let me know.
All right. We appreciate all your help and efforts, and thank you for joining us on our podcast today. We appreciate your time and look forward to having you join us in the future.
Thank you, Barry. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Mick. And thank you for joining us.